Imagine you're huddled in a pitch-black cave in the high Himalayas.
Sounds terrifying already.
Right. The temperature is just plummeting. And outside, there's a literal monster.
Like an actual local demon.
Exactly, demanding an accounting of your life. So what do? Do you pray? Do you hide deeper in the shadows?
I mean, I'd probably just freeze.
Yeah, most of us would.
Oh.
But what if the ultimate survival tactic in that moment wasn't fighting back, but doing something so incredibly bizarre, so completely inappropriate that it actually short-circuits the monster's brain?
It sounds totally counterintuitive. But, sometimes the only way to survive a system built entirely on terror is to just refuse to acknowledge its rules.
Welcome to today's Deep Dive. Today, we are exploring the structure and the hidden mechanics of an incredibly rich, highly unconventional narrative.
We really are.
We're looking at a story that takes our normal expectations of spiritual reverence, turns them completely upside down, and somehow makes the experience profoundly meaningful.
Yeah, we're going to be unpacking an excerpt from this fascinating piece of creative nonfiction. It's a book called Drukpa Kunley, Sacred Tales of a Mad Monk.
A great title.
It is. And specifically, we're looking at Chapter 2, which carries an even better title. It's called An Egg-Headed Beast to the Rescue.
Oh, man, I love that.
Yeah, it was written by the Bhutanese author Drukpa Zangpo. He synthesized all these ancient biographical and oral stories from Tibet and Bhutan to, bring this narrative to life.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because this story is just a masterclass in manipulation.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean that in the best possible way regarding the listener's expectations.
Yeah.
It starts out feeling exactly like a classic, terrifying horror movie.
Right. Very moody.
But then it pivots into absolute absurdity. And finally, it lands on this deeply profound spiritual resolution.
It's a wild ride.
It really is. And to understand how this story pulls off that trick, we have to look at the architecture of the setup. Because the author doesn't waste a single sentence getting us into the geography of isolation.
No, he doesn't. The environment does, a ton of the heavy lifting early on. We find ourselves in the cave of Wooddrak.
Which is super remote, right?
Extremely. It's in this desolate wilderness between Fari in Tibet and Shinkarab in Lomon. It's a rocky hillside, and the text specifically points out that it's sparsely covered by stunted oaks.
Yeah, that phrase alone, stunted oaks.
It paints a picture.
It immediately tells you that this is a place where even nature can barely manage to stay alive. I mean, the conditions are brutal.
Yeah, they really are.
The travelers taking shelter in this cave are described as being wedged between the shadow of a cliff and the relentless rush of a river.
Which is brilliant setting work, psychologically speaking.
Oh, totally. You're literally trapped between immovable, cold stone and this sweeping, destructive force. You can feel the claustrophobia setting in before the sun even goes down.
And when the sun does go down, the author uses these great sensory details to show how the characters' minds are already, buckling under the pressure.
Oh, the shadows, right.
Exactly. In the fading twilight, the small alpine shrubs dotting the hillside, they start looking to the travelers like crawling ogres from local folktales.
Which is such a real human reaction.
Yeah, it really is.
When you're in a high-stress, terrifying situation, your brain just starts finding threats in the shadows. Like pareidolia goes into overdrive.
Every bush is a monster.
Every single one.
Uh-huh.
And what strikes me is how this environment forces the characters to behave. Like, they don't build a massive warming fire or have a big meal.
No, not at all.
They eat this meager, hurried snack of churned butter tea and puffed rice, and then they immediately pack their bamboo containers away. They're trying to leave zero footprint.
They're attempting to erase their own presence. I mean, the environment is so oppressive that it completely strips away their agency.
Yeah.
They're whispering. They are just terrified of drawing any attention to themselves.
There's this one detail that I found incredibly evocative. One of the travelers is tending to a tiny fire, and he is snapping dry twigs gingerly to avoid making loud cracking sounds.
Ah, yeah, the twigs.
Think about the level of micromanagement required to break a tiny stick slowly so it doesn't snap too loudly. It is the ultimate physical manifestation of pure terror.
And meanwhile, another traveler is just sitting there chanting the mani, the 6-syllable mantra of Chenrezig.
Which is a crucial detail, right?
Very. Chenrezig is the bodhisattva of compassion in Himalayan Buddhism.
Right. So he is literally begging the ultimate figure of universal compassion to save him, precisely because he's sitting in an environment that is completely devoid of it.
Exactly.
It feels almost like the author is overdoing the horror tropes here just to torture these characters. We have the classic horror movie rules in full effect.
Keep your head down.
Yep, don't make a sound. And whatever you do, do not upset the irritable local spirits. But it makes me question the structural choice here.
How so?
Is the author just laying the misery on thick so the payoff is more dramatic, or is there a specific narrative function to making them this pathetic?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it feels like cruelty, but it's actually highly structural. Yeah. The author is constructing a rigid framework of rules. These travelers aren't just scared, right? They're actively participating in the demon's ecosystem.
By whispering and everything.
Exactly, by whispering, by chanting, by snapping those twigs so carefully, they're acknowledging that the demon has supreme authority over that space. They're validating the monster's power.
Wow, yeah.
Zhang Po is establishing a baseline of immense tension, but a baseline that rigid is incredibly fragile. It only takes one element out of place to shatter it entirely.
And that element arrives the absolute second the sun disappears. Which brings us to our disruptor.
Right.
It's the worst possible time to be wandering around a demon-infested gorge.
Yeah.
But suddenly this sprightly man just barges right into the cave, and his appearance alone is a violation of the atmosphere.
Oh, he is the physical antithesis of the terrified travelers.
Literally.
The text describes him as a cross between a monk and a beggar. He has long, uncombed hair. He's wearing huge round earrings, and his demeanor is entirely out of sync with the environment.
He is boisterous. He is not whispering.
Definitely not.
The very first thing this guy does after walking into a pitch-black, terrifying cave is loudly complain about the accommodations.
He basically leaves a one-star review.
He does. He declares out loud, "This is a rocky hillside, not ideal for travelers to camp." I can only imagine the other travelers just having a collective heart attack.
The author specifically notes that they exchange uneasy glances, but remain completely silent.
Just frozen.
Yeah, they are paralyzed by the sudden introduction of noise and opinion in a place where they have been trying to make themselves invisible.
And this guy keeps talking loudly about coming from Tibet and heading to Lomon, completely ignoring the fact that everyone else is vibrating with fear.
He's oblivious. Or pretending to be.
Right. And finally he asks, "Can I camp here with you tonight?" The oldest traveler in the group, probably just desperate to get this noisy lunatic as far away from them as possible, points to the very mouth of the cave.
The most exposed, vulnerable spot.
Exactly, and just softly says, "Sleep there."
And that moment sets up the primary psychological conflict of the chapter, because settling down for the night leads to the dueling prayers.
Yes, the silence finally returns. Everyone is settling in. And the oldest traveler, wanting to make absolutely sure the local entity knows they are following the rules, says in a deliberately loud voice, "May I be protected, Lord Demon of Wood."
And all of his terrified companions echo it.
In perfect unison.
Think about the psychology of that group prayer, though. It's a chorus of submission.
Right.
They're trying to negotiate with terror. They're literally praying to the entity that is hunting them, asking for its mercy by offering their total obedience.
But the newcomer, the Tibetan man sleeping at the mouth of the cave, speaks up. And he yells out equally loudly, "May I be protected, my own thing."
Such a great moment.
Just put yourself in the shoes of those other travelers. You are already in the scariest place on earth. You have just offered your polite, quiet submission to the resident monster.
And the weird guy at the front door essentially yells out a taunt.
Yes, he isn't just ignoring the rules of the cave, he is mocking them.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Zhang Po uses this dialogue to establish two completely irreconcilable worldviews within that tiny space.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, on one side, you have a worldview governed entirely by external fear. The travelers believe their survival depends entirely on appeasing an outside force.
While the Tibetan man is operating from a place of internal, unshakable confidence,
Exactly.
by praying to my own thing, he is publicly declaring that he relies on his own nature, his own inherent power. He is flat out refusing to participate in their shared hallucination of powerlessness.
Spot on. And narratively, that creates a massive shift in the tension.
Because now the monster is definitely going to show up.
Right. The suspense isn't just about waiting for the demon anymore. The suspense is now centered around the agonizing wait to see what this madman's defiance is going to bring down upon all of them.
Yeah, they're no longer just afraid of the environment. They are terrified of their new companion.
And they don't have to wait long to find out.
No, they don't. Right around midnight, the classic witching hour, the demon of Wood Drake, actually arrives. And the author doesn't hold back on the monster description here.
Oh, it's intense.
This thing comes stomping past the cave. Its hair is violently cascading behind it. It lets out this guttural growl that reverberates through the rocks.
Very cinematic.
And it hones in specifically on the Tibetan man, demanding to know, what special thing do you have that you must seek protection from?
Because the demon heard the prayer. It recognizes the challenge to its authority, and it demands an accounting of power. It expects a spiritual duel.
And the travelers, as you'd expect, absolutely lose whatever shred of composure they had left.
Oh, they fall apart.
They scramble into a huddle in the deepest, darkest corner of the cave.
Yeah.
Completely petrified, just muttering incoherent bits of prayers. They are the picture of absolute system failure.
But the Tibetan man's response is the pivot point where the story shifts from horror into sheer absurdity.
It really is.
It's the moment the entire structure flips.
So the text notes that he takes his time to sit up. He's not rushing at all. He looks this ferocious, hair-cascading, guttural, growling demon straight in the eye.
Yep.
And he thrusts out his rock-hard penis, and he simply says, I have this one.
It is a moment of pure ontological shock.
To put it mildly.
Right. But what makes the author's execution here so brilliant is not just the crude action itself, but the demon's immediate reaction to it.
Because the rule of the genre is clear, right? You insult the monster eats you, period.
But that doesn't happen. The demon doesn't just get confused. Its brain practically reboots.
It stops dead in its tracks.
Yeah, and it begins analyzing the appendage like it's a strange biological specimen. It literally recites what sounds like an anatomical poem.
Oh my gosh, yes. Exclaiming, oh, what a strange beast this is. Its head is like an egg, its trunk is like a fish, and its root is like a pig.
I mean, you have this ancient, terrifying spirit, the Lord of the Gorge, who is just growling for blood, suddenly standing there reciting poetry about a man's anatomy.
It is wildly disorienting. But while this bizarre standoff is happening at the mouth of the cave, Zhangpo does something really clever with the terrified travelers huddled in the back.
Right, he uses them as a lens.
Exactly, to show us three distinct psychological reactions to witnessing radical absurdity.
Zhangpo isn't just describing random reactions. He's showing us the real-time breakdown of the human brain when it encounters something that violently violates its survival rules.
He breaks it down into three stages, right?
Yeah. The first reaction is pure panic. One of the travelers assumes they are all going to pay with their lives for this vagrant's foolishness.
That makes sense.
It represents a mind so trapped in fear that it reacts with anger toward anyone who doesn't conform to the established terror.
Wow. Then you have the second reaction, which is sheer cognitive overload.
Just completely freezing.
Yeah, now the traveler is wondering what kind of strange thing this is to do to a ruthless demon. His software is basically crashed.
He can't compute.
He cannot process the data he is receiving because it violates every expectation of how a person handles a monster.
And then you have the third reaction, which is the breakthrough.
This was my favorite.
The author notes that there is one traveler among them with a more contemplative nature. This traveler actually starts to feel a mysterious power emanating from the Tibetan man.
Oh, wow.
And that feeling actually begins to soothe his paralyzed fear. This represents a mind flexible enough to look past the crude, shocking surface of the action and recognize the profound fearlessness underneath it.
He realizes that fear is a choice, and this madman has simply opted out.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense, especially when you consider the function of the action itself. But I have to bring up a question that is probably on the mind of anyone hearing this story for the first time.
Sure, go ahead.
Why resort to something so incredibly crude? I mean, it feels like bringing a whoopee cushion to a gunfight.
That's a great analogy.
Why wouldn't a legendary figure just pull out a glowing magical sword or, like, chant a louder, more powerful ancient spell?
Well, because fighting magic with magic or force with force validates the demon's premise.
Oh, I see.
It accepts the framing that this is a traditional battle of power. The demon's entire existence, its total authority over that valley, operates solely on fear.
Right.
When you are terrified, the demon is in control. The Tibetan man realizes that if he fights back conventionally, he is still playing the demon's game.
He has to change the game entirely.
Precisely. By introducing total crude biology and absurdity, he completely short-circuits the demon's power source.
You cannot effectively terrorize someone who responds to your death threats by showing you a fish-bodied, egg-headed, pig-like beast.
The absurdity destroys the context in which the fear exists.
It breaks the rules so entirely that the mechanism of fear just physically stops working. And, the story physically stops the demon too.
It does.
Because while the monster is standing there, completely perplexed, still muttering to itself about this strange beast, The climax hiss.
The physical strike.
The Tibetan man springs up, thrusts his penis right into the demon's mouth, completely smashes its front teeth in, and declares, "If you don't know what it is, this is what it is."
It is the ultimate assertion of undeniable earthly reality over supernatural illusion.
And the terrifying Lord Demon of Wood is instantly reduced to nothing.
Just completely defeated.
The text says it lets out a sharp squeal, like a pig struck unawares by an arrow. It tumbles away into the dark, its teeth smashed, echoing its squeals through the hills.
The imagery of the smashed teeth feels so intentional.
Oh, definitely.
The demon's ability to consume, to bite, to terrify is physically broken by this absurd reality.
And notice the structural shift that happens immediately after this violence. The narrative transitions instantly from chaos and absurdity into a state of profound peace.
Yeah, we're told that after a long while, the demon returns to the cave. But it's no longer a stomping monster with violently cascading hair.
It returns in what the text calls a peaceful manifestation.
It's just a subdued-looking man.
He walks up to the Tibetan man with his eyes downcast, physically shaking. He kneels, submits himself entirely, and pledges that he will never harm any life ever again.
And this is the moment when those benumbed, exhausted travelers finally realize exactly who they have been sharing a cave with all night.
It's the big reveal. The wildly confident man is none other than Drukpa Kunley.
The Holy Madman of Drukpa.
Yes, he is one of the most revered and undoubtedly the most unorthodox saints in Himalayan Buddhist history.
This raises an important question, though, about the overarching narrative structure. It really brings it full circle.
Oh, so?
Well, we began with absolute terror, a monstrous entity ruling over terrified humans in the dark, forcing them to make themselves small.
Right.
We moved through a phase of shocking, irreverent disruption that broke the rules of that terror. And we ended with a pacified, subdued human taking a vow of nonviolence.
Wow, yeah.
It is a profound commentary on how we deal with struggles. It suggests that the demons we face, whether they're literal monsters in folklore or the psychological demons of anxiety, they aren't actually tamed by matching their hostility.
You don't beat them by playing their game.
You beat them through radical, fearless disruption.
So what does this all mean? When we zoom out and look at the mechanics of this story, it perfectly mirrors the actual historical teaching style of Drukpa Kunley himself.
He was famous for this stuff.
He was famous throughout the region for using outrageously shocking, often deeply crude methods to wake people up from their rigid, dogmatic ways of thinking. He disarmed hypocrisy and fear with absolute irreverence.
And Nidrup Zangpo didn't just write a biography telling us that Kunley was like this.
Right. He structured the entire chapter so that we, the audience, experience that exact same psychological awakening.
Exactly.
We start out feeling the claustrophobia and fear of the travelers. Then we experience the jarring confusion of the absurdity. And finally, we arrive at the profound peace of the resolution.
It truly is a masterclass in using narrative structure to force the audience on a very specific cognitive journey. You aren't just hearing about fearlessness, you are watching the mechanics of fear get dismantled in real time.
And I think there's a massive takeaway here for all of us, even if our daily lives don't involve camping in haunted gorges in the Himalayas.
I hope they don't.
Think about how often we naturally default to acting exactly like those terrified travelers in the cave.
Oh, all the time.
How often do we find ourselves micromanaging our behavior, gingerly snapping twigs, whispering, keeping our heads down, desperately trying not to upset the demons in our own lives?
We all have environments that demand that kind of submission.
Oh, definitely.
It could be a toxic work culture where everyone walks on eggshells to appease a volatile boss. It could be the crushing weight of societal expectations dictating exactly how we are supposed to behave to be accepted.
Right.
Or it could just be our own internal anxieties, the fears that we constantly try to appease by playing small, staying quiet, and not drawing attention to ourselves.
We chant our little mantras of conformity, hoping the bad thing will just pass us by if we are quiet enough.
But Drukpa Kunley's method, as illustrated in this brilliant story, shows us that sometimes the absolute best way to defeat something that feeds on your fear is to flat out refuse to take it seriously.
You break the power of the nightmare by introducing the absurd. You refuse to validate the monster's rules.
When you stop offering reverence to the things that terrorize you, you strip them of their power entirely. You force them out of the shadows of your own mind and into the light of your own unshakable confidence.
So, as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Think about the rigid rules you are currently following. just to keep the peace in a stressful situation in your own life.
The ones you don't even realize you're following.
Exactly. Think about where you are currently tiptoeing around in the dark. What would happen if, instead of submitting to that fear, you decided to confidently rely on your own authentic, maybe even slightly weird strengths to smash its teeth in?
I love that.
Don't be afraid to be a little disruptive. Keep seeking out the stories that challenge your expectations, because sometimes the most profound wisdom you'll ever find is hiding right behind a joke. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.